y'all. I hope you have had a good couple days. I hope New Year's was amazing for you. And I hope today has been good for you. My New Year's was pretty boring. I didn't have anything to do or anyone to see. I am in Ontario. Ontario is in lockdown right now because of COVID, so New Year's is pretty boring. But we are past that now. It is now 2021. And I'm excited to see what this year holds. I don't have much more to say on that, so I figured we should just jump right into the video. I'm still in my work shirt, but I took my bra off because it digs into my chest, so they're bouncy right now. Anyway, today's video is going to be a short one, just kind of on the books that I'm reading currently and just talking a little bit about them. I usually have a couple of books on the go. I haven't really been reading as much as I used to. I think a lot of us can relate to that, though, the feeling of just going from reading all the time as a kid to never reading at all as an adult. But I'm trying to get back into it, so hopefully this will keep me motivated. I downloaded Goodreads. That way I can, keep track of how many books I'm reading this year, so hopefully that's good motivation. But anyway, I have 4 books here that are on the go that I'm reading right now. I also have books on my computer that I downloaded that I'm reading. They're not so much something I need to talk about in depth, though. I'm just rereading the Warrior Cat series, which was my favorite series as a kid, so I'm rereading it right now. I'm on Dawn, I think, which is in the 2nd series. Like I said, I'm reading them chronologically, though, so that means I'm like 40 something books in, because they had a lot of prequels and stuff that came out, and then plus all the super editions and blah blah blah. So I'm on Dawn in the Warrior Cat series, and that's what I'm reading on my laptop. That's probably what I read most often. And then I have these 4 books that I'm currently reading. Not all of them are books. I have other books on my shelf that I need to read, just haven't started, so we're not going to talk about those. But first is Halsey's poetry collection, I Would Leave Me If I Could. I got that about a month ago. I got this about a month ago. It's good, I just haven't been in the mood to read it. And I feel like I've just kind of grown out of this style of poetry already. Or I guess now, rather. It's good, it's just not what I read anymore. I like it though. I'm excited to finish it and just see how well it is. I just think some of it's very repetitive, I guess that's the right word for it. I've either read it and when I get towards the back, I've read all those poems already, because the ideas are very repetitive, which is okay. Mine are too, so. Or alternatively, because Halsey's a singer, a lot of these poems you've already heard in her songs, or at least the concepts you already heard in the songs, so. I do find it a little bit repetitive, but overall, it's good. I might do a review of it once I'm done the whole book. The next book I have been reading, another poetry book, is the poetry of Emily Dickinson. I've been meaning to read some of her poems and just never did. But as an English Lit student, or ex-English Lit student, I feel like Emily Dickinson is a must-read. And I just never did read. So I got this from Chapters probably 1.5 to 2 years ago. Put it on my shelf, never picked it up again, which is pretty standard for me. And then during lockdown or quarantine, when I came back to my apartment last time, back in May, I started trying to read like a couple poems every day. Fell out of that. I'm still trying to read a couple poems, but it's good. I like her poetry a lot. It's definitely like, modern day poetry is amazing, and then there's non-modern day poetry. Like, when was Emily Dickinson writing? Like the 1800s or something? At the end of the 1800s? Yeah, she's writing like between 1890 and forward, and you can tell, you can tell, and I really like that kind of poetry. Like, I love modern day poetry, but poetry from the late 1800s, early 1900s, I love it so much. So I really like this book. It's just because of the time period, the style of writing or the words sometimes takes a little bit more for me to get into it. Not even get into it, but like understand it. Because it's easy to read modern words, like we know what the words are. They're easy to understand and dissect. and then not so much from, you know, the 1890s. It's not like it's Shakespeare, but it does still get a little bit convoluted at times, or a little bit, I can't think of the right word, but sometimes I have to sit there and like Google a word or two. But I still really like it, so it just takes me a while to get through. The next book that I've been reading is The Fearsome Particles by Trevor Cole. I have been trying to read this again for a couple of years. You can tell by the side of it, it's a library book. I used to work in a library, and the library I used to work at, and I'm sure many other libraries, get rid of books all the time. So we had a donation center, or like a little spot that we would give books to when we didn't use them anymore, and then they would sell the books or whatever. But the thing is, people didn't really go to that center a lot. They didn't really buy books from there a lot. So eventually we gave them too many books and we just couldn't give them books anymore. And like I said, I'm sure this is the case for a lot of places, a lot of libraries. But because we couldn't give them books anymore, you know, we still had all these old books that we had to get rid of. And that's the thing too. So libraries have a constant cycle of books coming in and out. So they're constantly ordering new books, which is amazing. They're always on top of the newest stuff to get into the library. But, you know, the more books you bring in, the more you have to make room for them. So we would probably get rid of about 200 books every week. Now that might fluctuate, just kind of depending on the week and the time period and stuff. Sometimes we got rid of maybe 50 in a week. Other times maybe it'd be more than 200. But I'd say on average we were getting about 200 books, throwing out 200 books in a week to 2 weeks. Which is okay. Like, I get that that's what you have to do to allow room for the new books. And that's why it was so good to donate them, right? We could just donate them to the center that would take the books. But like I said, eventually they just weren't selling the books that we needed to get rid of, and we had to start just throwing them out. So once a week, it was my job, or sometimes more than once a week, or rather spaced out more than once a week. But usually, you know, a couple times throughout the month, it'd be my job to take a list that my boss would give to me. It was books that hadn't been checked out in either 3 years or 5 years. I can't quite remember. But either way, books that no interest had been shown in them for a number of years. And I would go through and I'd pull all those books, and then I'd go to the back and throw them all in the dumpster. Not even the recycling, just for the record, the dumpster. And as a book fanatic, that was painful. So I used to try and go and save as many books as I could when I threw them out. Now my boss eventually realized I was saving so many books and didn't really like that very much. I'm not really too sure. I think she's worried maybe I was selling them or something, but either way she told me it's okay if you take a book or two, but don't take a whole bunch. And that's what I was doing, was taking like 20 books at a time. So I tried to cut back, but either way I ended up having a lot of books from the library. This was one of them. I did my best to only take the ones I was like interested in, but it's heartbreaking to throw away so many books. So sometimes I took ones I wasn't really interested in. Thankfully this was one that I thought I was interested in, and still think I am interested in it. I think it's slow at the beginning. I'm hoping it picks up towards the end, but I'm on page 75, which usually I give the first 100 pages a try, so like I can't judge too hard yet, but it's just kind of a little bit slow. And it's also predictable. Like, so the description, it basically just talks about this husband or father, and just going through his life and his wife's life, who's trying to balance her own life and stuff, and then focuses mainly on their son. Their son went to go to Afghanistan, I believe. Yeah, he was doing a civilian support thing in Afghanistan with the military. He wasn't part of the military, but he's like a civilian that works with the military. He went to Afghanistan. I'm pretty sure it sounds like in the first couple pages that somebody he got close to, like a civilian he got close to, or even a military staff that he got close to, died in Afghanistan, and he now has PTSD, or some variant of it. They don't necessarily say that in the description, but they do talk about this sort of injury he received that isn't visible. I'm pretty sure it's PTSD. There's indications of it being PTSD within the first 75 pages. And it's just, I thought that was a really interesting concept. I was really excited to read this book. Also, as I showed with here, you can see there's the Canadian sticker on it. This is a Canadian book. Trevor Cole, it's also his first book. He was a new author when this came out. This was his debut novel. And as a Canadian writer, you know, I want to support other Canadian writers. So I thought it would be really interesting. And like I said, it is somewhat interesting. It's just predictable so far. I'm hoping there's a twist at some point. That'll be really exciting. I don't really think there's going to be a twist. But overall though, like when I just want something just to read, I think it's pretty good. And I really hope to finish it maybe this month even, just to see how it goes. Now, the other thing that I do actually like about this book though is that it takes place near me. So it's not, of course, like a real story or anything, but like the places are all places that I like am close to. They talk about a military base, which is in Canada, and I'm like, I know that base. So that's pretty cool. The author grew up in Hamilton, which is a city that I know of and am somewhat close to. So yeah, it's just neat to be like, oh, I know these cities. So that, I don't know, that makes the book a little bit more exciting, I guess. It just adds a little bit of something to it. But yeah, I'm excited to finish that. I just never have because it's a little bit slow. The last book that I wanted to show was The House Witch by Erin Murphy Hiscock. She writes another book, The Green Witch, that I really, really want to read. She actually references a couple books. Like I'm at probably like page 40 something. I don't really keep track of bookmarks. I just flip through till I find my spot. It's really awful. I need bookmarks, please. But anyway, I'm probably on page 40 or 50. And she's mentioned other books. All of the books she's mentioned I've immediately put into my wish list on Amazon. Especially the ones that she's written, but even the ones she hasn't, because I believe she has great taste. This book is amazing. I love it. I love it so much. It's not so much something good for necessarily beginner witches. If you're looking for something to kind of jump into it or like just get started on your path, this might not be the right book. But as somebody who's been a practicing witch since I was 9, 10, a child, I think I'm at the point where I can read past beginner books. And this is kind of what this feels like for me. It really talks a lot about house or hearth witch, or witchcraft. And I'm really kind of entertaining the idea of being a hearth witch, or at least practicing more hearth witchcraft. I think it's very interesting. So I really, really like this book. She has some spells in there, or some rituals, but mainly she just talks about the importance of the home and making kind of everyday mundane things magical in a sense. It's really good. I'm really excited. I've used this book before. Like I haven't read it all before, but I've used it before as like a guidebook at times when I've just needed a quick little ritual for certain things. But overall I haven't actually sat down and read the book, so that's what I'm trying to do. Trying to get through the whole book because I think it's beautiful and amazing. And I think she did a really good job with it. Once I finish it, I'm 100% going to buy The Green Witch and every other book she's ever written and recommended. It's really good. If you are past the beginner stages of witchcraft, or even if you just like drowning yourself in knowledge, recommend 100%. I absolutely recommend it. Also, it's on Amazon, and it's at Chapters. You can probably find it other places, but I know for sure it's on Amazon, and I know for sure it's at Chapters because that's where I bought it. So, anyway, those are the 4 books that I'm reading. I just thought I'd share that with you. Do a little update. Tomorrow, I believe, we have a tarot video coming out, so I'm super excited for that. I am home all day, probably record it in the morning because I might see my boyfriend tomorrow. So I might not want to record while he's here, but I'll try and have a tarot video open or posted tomorrow morning. So yeah, I hope you're excited for that. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your night. I hope you enjoy the first couple days to 2021, and I will see you all tomorrow.